everyone, and welcome to Bottom Line's First Generation Hour. This is a time for us to elevate the stories and achievement of people who identify as first generation college graduates. My hope is that we can use this time to showcase the challenges, celebrate past successes, and come together as a collective of individuals who hold this identity that, while it's not visible, it is equally as important as other identities that we hold. I'm Jeanette Semperville, and I am a Bottom Line alum and also the executive director of our Boston region. And I'm so excited to have with me two other alums who are currently at PwC, Lorena Mejia and David Shilly, and I'll give them a chance to introduce themselves. Go ahead, Lorena.
Thank you, Jeanette. Hi, everyone. My name is Lorena Mejia. I'm a senior associate in our assurance line of service at PwC for our private company service practice. I'm a Bentley alum, graduated with my undergrad in 2016, and I also did my master's at Bentley, so I'm a double Falcon. I currently live in South Boston. Very excited to be here with all of you today.
Awesome. So good to have you here. Go ahead, David.
Hey everyone, this is David Cherry. I am a manager in our M&A practice at PwC. I graduated from Bentley in 2015, and I am a happy and proud alum of Bottom Line.
So glad to have both of you here. Thank you so much for joining us. Before we get started with the questions with Lorena and David in the hot seat, I want to take care of some housekeeping. Just so you all know, this session is being recorded, and we're going to make this available through all our social media platforms for this event. And there will be more series to come, so people look out for that so you can hear more stories and successes of our first generation graduates. I will also be fielding some questions during this moment, so at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A field. Go ahead and click on that and ask your questions, and I'll be able to ask them of Lorena and David. Are you ready to get started, the two of you?
Ready.
Awesome. So the first question I have for you is, can you talk a little bit about how Bottom Line has made a difference in your journey? David, you can start first if you want.
Yeah, from day one, helping me to apply to schools, to undergraduate schools, to getting to the first school that I applied to and helping me transfer to Bentley University. That made the process of handling my schoolwork, going through the Common App again, things of that nature, that much easier, just having that support from Bottom Line. And then the Go Far Forum, which is where I got my first introduction to PwC, essentially just taking off my my career. They were there with me every step of the way, again, from school to my professional career.
That's awesome. Thank you. Go ahead, what's your different story?
Yeah, I think I would echo David, and I definitely emphasize they were like a second support system. I think just being first gen, there's not really a role model around me. I'm also the first in my family, not just to go to college, but also I'm the oldest. So I didn't really have an older sister or anyone within my family to look up to for support in the process of a college like application or the financial aid process. So that was really great to have Bottom Line, as that's a second support system to help me through those steps that can be very daunting at first when it comes to getting into college.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And did you enjoy all the charts and stuff that, as an Access student, that the Bottom Line had to help you pick your colleges and write your essays and make sure you meet the deadlines?
I did. I also, it was great because my high school really didn't provide that support that I believed they would, as in my guidance counselor didn't believe that I would get into Bentley University. So that's how I started to seek out other advisors or counselor opportunities outside of my high school, for just seeking for someone to believe in me that I can go as far as I wanted to. So Bottom Line believing in me and allowing me to just explore college opportunities and even career opportunities definitely skyrocketed my journey.
Yeah, that's great. And Lorena, in your first answer, you talked about being the oldest, right? So were there other firsts in your family, other accomplishments that you want to highlight, other than being the first to graduate from college?
Yeah, I hope my siblings are not hearing me just gloating about being the first and everything. But I also was the first in getting my master's. And then I'm also first gen professional in corporate. So none of my parents are accountants. I was also the first person to study abroad, trying to push my siblings to do that, but they're not really into traveling as much as I am.
That's great. How about you, David?
I do have an older sister who she takes that crown of being the first to graduate from college. However, I'm probably the first in my immediate family to start owning property and buying investment properties. So pretty proud of that fact, and kind of kicked off that path to like creating generational wealth for my family.
That's awesome. Congratulations to both of you. That's great to hear. What's your favorite bottom line memory? David, do you have one in mind you can share?
It's so tough. There's so many. But I think the one that like stands out to me the most is probably the GoFar Forum that I attended in January of 2012. It was like my first like real taste of like a career fair, and just being surrounded by so many folks, so many role models, so many of my peers, to see what they've been doing for their first year in college or second or third year in college. And bottom line, putting that together and just creating that environment for all of us to network, do mock interviews, resume building, the whole nine. Like that was, at 19 years old, that was like a lot to take in, but it was needed. Yeah, that was probably one of my best memories.
Oh, that's awesome. How about you, Lorena?
At Bottom Line in the Boston office, there is this wall of stars. And when you finally choose the university that you're going to, you get to put your name and the university you're going to and put it on the wall. So it's like the Hall of Fame. So I was very excited when I got accepted into Bentley, and then it was my turn to finally put a star on the wall that I usually come into every time I meet my advisor. So I felt like I made it.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, now you got me thinking, while we're remote, we need to have a virtual star wall for our students as well this year. I do remember that memory. And David, the GoFar Forum, the career fair, is an amazing opportunity for our students and volunteers also to engage, and for our students to build the network. So such great memories for me. So I appreciate you both for sharing. Next question. You shared your memory. David, you talked about the GoFar Forum. I'm curious to hear, like, how are you doing that, or how do you plan on sort of paying it forward now that you are an alum of the program? Lorena, do you want to start?
Yeah, sure. So many different things I feel like I'm trying to get involved with in Bottom Line the past couple of months. One is the Bottom Line Leadership Group, just getting involved in that front, trying to reconnect with past alums and things of that nature, and just doing anything that we can to really like continue to grow the network and keep it strong. And then also making introductions or strengthening connections with PwC and Bottom Line, trying to do that as much as I can. Because again, you guys have gotten my foot through the door, and if I can help someone get their foot through the door, that would mean the world to me. That, and then also many of my colleagues are getting involved. Jim Dunn, who I think is on the call right now, he's getting involved. I think Derek Townsend might be on the call. He's playing a major role as well. So just things of that nature, just trying to, the opportunities that were given to me with PwC and through Bottom Line, just trying to pay that forward is really what I've been trying to do for the past couple of months.
Oh, that's awesome. We appreciate that. Lorena, how about you?
Yeah, one big one for me is just doing it, right? Being a role model, being that example for other students who can look up to me and also be like, well, she made it, so can I. And then for PwC, I know I've been doing a lot of work with the partnership in itself between Bottom Line and PwC, with Derek now helping me with that. So that's been huge for me, because I've been able to learn just how to optimize the relationship and how to make the most of getting exposure to Bottom Line within the firm. So that's been really great. And I hope to continue doing that for the years to come.
Oh, That's awesome. We so appreciate you all. And just like in Access, it was word of mouth that got students involved, that got students connected to the program. We really do appreciate you all sort of sharing about your experience with Bottom Line and making sure others are aware about this amazing work that we are doing. Before I ask the next question, I want to remind our audience members that we are fielding some questions, so don't forget to send your questions our way. But David, well, both of you work at PwC, and you've been amazing, as you just shared, amazing connectors for the Bottom Line. I'm curious to hear, what advice do you have for folks who want to engage their employers with Bottom Line, but aren't sure where to start? How has that experience been for you?
Yeah, I can start with this one. I would say that every employer either has a volunteer portal or a newsletter or anything of the sort, someone spearheading that. So always get connected with those individuals that are spearheading these opportunities with nonprofits. Look to see if any of the nonprofits that you're passionate about or that made a difference in your life is in those lists. If they're not, communicate to that spearheader, see how you can start that connection. That's how I ended up with the opportunity to help spearhead and lead that relationship between Bottom Line and PwC. I knew that Bottom Line was a very important part of my life, so I make sure to insert myself wherever I could when it comes to leading any activities or events, and it just continues to grow from there, and more exposure and more people learn about Bottom Line and also become connected and know why it's so great to those students.
That's great. David, how about you?
Yeah. I'll first start off by saying it might feel like a little weird or strange that you're reaching out to your colleagues to get involved. That's completely normal. I felt that way for a little bit, but once you get that first email out the way, it'll take off, and everyone wants to help. Everyone wants to give back. Everyone wants to be, a positive figure in someone else's life. So with keeping that in mind, I think like Lorena said, just to piggyback off that, just finding opportunities. For example, PwC has been doing a couple of D&I conversations for the past, I want to say like 6 months. And then one of the topics came up like, hey, can we bring somebody in to, discuss what their nonprofit organization is doing? And I was like, yeah, we can bring Bottom Line in for sure. So again, it's first getting over the hump if you are a little bit nervous about making that introduction. And then after that, just look for the opportunities, because companies want to help tremendously in any way they can, whether it's time or financially, wherever the case may be. People want to help, and if you feel like you can make that connection, I strongly suggest that you go for it.
Awesome. Thank you. I have a couple of questions from the audience, and one of them is a fun one from Tyler, who wants to know what are your favorite or maybe least favorite parts of your job at PwC? Either one of you can answer.
My least favorite one right now is working remotely. I do not like working remotely because what I enjoy most about my job is, obviously, as cliche as it sounds, is the people in my group and how fun and outgoing they are. So it's been really bummy not to be there physically in person with them and be able to socialize on top of doing work, because everyone does the work. That's not why we're here. I think it's the people around you that really make the difference. So yeah, least and favorite.
Geez, yeah, to piggyback off that, so in my role at PwC, my typical schedule before COVID was Monday morning, I fly out to my client site, and then Thursday night I come back. And then Friday is the only day you get in the office, and I miss looking forward to those Fridays. Because again, building those connections, and then just it's so much easier to stop by someone's desk and ask them a question versus if you ping them or email them, you might feel like you might be nagging them or whatever the emotion that you're feeling when you're working remotely. But I think that's the toughest part. And also, like, yeah, my least favorite is just not being around my colleagues, because the deals group that I'm in, we're pretty close. We hang out on the weekends, and all that can't happen right now. So yeah. I would say that's probably like my least favorite part of this is having to be away from everyone for what I think we're on month 9 now.
Yeah, I mean, thank you both for highlighting that, because I think this is the times we're in has been really hard on everyone, and I'm curious, like for students, right, who are experiencing remote learning, and even with bottom line, it's remote, right? We're doing face to face, but we had to adapt to that. Do you have any advice? Either one of you can answer this question. Do you have any advice for students that are going through this, and just how to navigate that and handle that, and even like use their resources, even bottom line? Like, what advice do you have?
I can start with this one. I think now more than ever, it's important just to stay connected, however you feel comfortable. But it's going to be so easy to forget someone that you met via Zoom. That's just the world we live in. So I would just find ways that you can reach out where you don't feel like you're doing too much, or if it's the holiday, send a quick hey, happy holidays. Or if you remember something about a conversation that you had with that person, always leverage that continuously, like try to build that connection. Because again, now more than ever, like it's going to be so easy for someone to forget your face, or just not be able to connect with you as often as you'd like. So yeah, just again, continue to like build those connections however you can.
Yeah. And I think too, just touching on the mental well-being part is taking a step back whenever you can and really disconnecting and taking a break. Because I know we can all feel little either Zoom fatigue or video chat fatigue at all times of the day. So definitely disconnecting as much as you can. And it's something I'm still practicing, but always having that group of people around you to remind you like, hey, take a step back and relax, because it is exhausting being remote.
Yeah, that is so important. Thank you for that. And I think this is a good follow-up as well. Like, would you be there maybe two people who have helped you during your journey through college, and where you are now? Um, yeah, want to, Lorena, do you want to start?
This really is the hot seat, Jeanette. Wasn't expecting this one. So one person that I know that really kickstart just my college support system process was a high school teacher I had. Her name is Ingrid. And I remember her always sending me emails like, here's a scholarship, sign up, I'll write your recommendation. And even though like I would read the description, I'm like, I don't qualify for this. She's like, apply. You never know until you take the shot. So I really thank her all the time. I'm still connected to her now. We're really good friends now, even after I'm not her student anymore, which is really great. And then when it comes to like just the kickstart of my career, shout out to Annie Lett, that was part of the team that gave me the opportunity for START. But I tell this story a lot during my journey. Miguel Santiago, I wouldn't have probably been in PCS or still at PwC if it wasn't for Miguel, because I remember him on a panel that I did during my internship, and he was so excited. He was currently like an experienced associate at the time, and he was so excited to be working at PwC and to be in PCS. And I just found that so weird. And he was a Bentley alum too. So I found that so weird. I'm like, this guy is super happy to be here to do accounting. And then at the time, I just wasn't having a really good time at my internship. I didn't really see myself at the firm. So I reached out to Miguel, and he took me out for coffee and had a conversation with me, a very honest conversation of like, what do I want for my career growth? Where do I see myself in a couple of years? And everything PwC had to offer, and just like how there's many paths at the firm. So he introduced me to PCS, where I got connected there and did another internship there, and that it's history from there. But really grateful to them for believing me and pushing me to continue and like searching where I fit in the most at the firm.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, David.
Yeah, I want to go back to something Lorena had said, I think in probably question 1 or 2. And it was just about like the resources that we have at our separate high schools and the strength of our guidance counselors, and kind of instilling confidence or lack of confidence in us to apply to the schools that we wanted to go to. Kira Terrell was my counselor when I was at UMass Dartmouth, and she instilled all the confidence in the world in me to apply to different schools when I told her I was interested in transferring. So without her, having me take that leap of faith and believing in myself, not sure, I'd probably still be doing all right, but not sure where I would be. And so that speaks to one part, and that's getting me through college and, challenging myself. And then now I could probably speak about PwC all day, all night, because this is the only company I've worked for, and I've been there since I was a sophomore in college. So the past 7 years. There are a couple people that I can mention. One is Derek Townsend, another is Adrian Martin, and also Jim Dunn. They've just, been there from the beginning and catapulted me into, getting from associate to senior and manager, and just helped me build not only confidence, but the capabilities and skill set to be successful. And yeah, I would say those 4 people were pretty instrumental in how I've gotten here today.
That's great. Thank you both for sharing that. Now, you mentioned, David, that you've been at PwC for a while in this field, and one question that Rich asked in the chat is what is one thing you wish you knew before joining the field that you're in right now? And then the second part to the question is around, is there an assumption that you had going into your field that you realized was false?
Oh, those are really good questions. So the one thing that I wish that I knew beforehand, really probably just the skill set going in, because I was wet behind the ears. You think note taking is not important, or it's a basic skill, but it's so critical in finance or just in any field that you need to, because you're expected to be like Rain Man in a sense. You're supposed to catch anything and everything in meetings. And I'll honestly say for my first internship, I wasn't ready for that. Thankfully I got through. But if I had just taken a little bit more time, and again, this sounds basic, but I'm telling you, it's important to this day. Really hone in on that. Really be laser focused in any class you're in or any meeting that you're in, because they'll just pay dividends when the person you're reporting to didn't hear what was said in the conversation, or you're expected to be able to you might not understand what's going on, but if you have it all written down, they'll be able to make sense of it. And then, sorry, Jeanette, what was the second question?
The second question is about any assumption that you had going into that field that you realized was false.
Yeah, that there's a dynamic of you're one person at work and you're one person at home. And again, this could be unique to my situation, but when you're working with someone for 12, 16 hours a day, you learn all of that person, and then it's hard to separate who you are outside of work and who you are at work. And that's a nice thing, right? Because you realize that everyone's human. Everyone's human. Everyone goes through these emotions, and it's not just, hey, you need to get this assignment done. It's okay, what else? Let's talk about what else is going on in your life, because we all go through different things. But I just figured that once you get into your professional career, everyone's a robot. But it was a nice touch to see that that's not how it is. People are understanding. People have empathy. People have sympathy. And that was my biggest assumption, because again, not knowing anything about consulting or finance, you assumed, I guess, the worst. And yeah, I would say it's the empathetic part that was a surprise to me.
That's good. Thank you for that. Laura, I want to hear from you too. I don't know if you have any thoughts or anything you want to add.
Yeah, definitely want to emphasize that last part David said. It's so important to bring your true self to work. I think that's when things are finally going to feel like it full circle. I know it took me a while to bring my true self to work, and over the past year or two, bringing my true self to work, I've had such a great experience, and I have connected with so many people and expanded my network because of that, because you're opening yourself up to be who you are 24/7, not just Lorena at work and then Lorena at home. And that's so important. And then obviously starting with the second question first, but an assumption that is not true that I thought was that accountants and auditors were boring, that all we do is punch numbers, but I can tell you that my colleagues are far from boring. So definitely that is something that's not true. And then an advice I would give is that comparison is the thief of joy. So when it comes to your career path is very unique to you. And every day you're making steps and decisions that is going to craft a very unique career path to who you are. So definitely don't compare yourself to your coworker, to your friends or your family or what they're doing or how they're doing. Focus on you and your goals, short-term or long-term, and how to achieve those, because that's where the best experience is going to be.
That's awesome. Thank you. I'm so inspired by both of you. Before we wrap up, one final question to both of you. And Lauren, I'm hoping you can start us off with this question, but can you talk a little bit more about some of the other PwC initiatives you are involved in, right? So Mimi knows that you're part of the D&I National Council member, and she's sure that Bottom Line played a role and you getting involved in some way. So we're curious to hear what else you're involved in as well.
Yeah, currently right now, I sit on the council for our D&I National with our chairman, Tim Ryan. So that's been a huge part of my journey this year, sitting on that council, hearing into what the firm is doing when it comes to D&I initiatives. How are we going to change and restructure how we think about diversity, inclusion, and equity? And that's very important to me because that's something I believe about. And also I know that when it comes to Bottom Line and in my journey, they instilled many values in me when it comes to speaking up, making sure that you're pushing everyone to be the best version of themselves and creating equal opportunities for everyone. So that's something that I definitely try to exemplify during those council meetings and when we're brainstorming and making sure that like we're giving the best opportunities to everyone at the firm all across. So that's one of my big initiatives this year.
How about you, David? I want to hear from you as well.
Yeah, sure. I'm not on the national council, but
You're still great, David.
I'm on the Northeast D&I Council for the Deals team. And what we've just really been doing, we've actually been connecting with the different deals groups across the country. So we did a couple of D&I conversations with Atlanta and New York. And what that did is just connected, because again, like because we're in this pandemic, we don't get to see the other offices, whether we were on the same project team or if we usually have in January, like a national conference where all the deals teams come together. But because we don't have these events to bring us all together now, we're trying to connect with our different markets through the conversations that we need to be having right now because of just the different killings of Black people in America and racism. We've been opening the doors for people to feel comfortable to speak their minds. And again, you're not going to speak freely about everything, but at least creating the space for people to speak up and say what's on their minds is what you kind of like. That's mostly what you can do, and people are going to share what they want to share. But again, not on the national level, but Northeast market, and then stretching out to Atlanta, we've been getting involved with those different markets.
Awesome. Thank you both for sharing. Now, I lied. I said this was going to be the last question, but I have another one for you. You gave advice to our students just in dealing with remote learning. And both of you, again, have been such amazing connectors as alum. I'm curious to hear if you have any advice for fellow alums out there who want to get involved, like how to get involved. Like I'm an alum and my goal is to increase that, to have more alums joining me in this effort and supporting and be part of the network. So what advice do you have for your fellow alums to get reconnected to the organization? Lorna, you want to get started?
Yeah, I would say just take the first step, reach out to your Bottom Line counselor or any Bottom Line counselor. Just reach out, take that first leap. Sometimes David said this earlier, that sometimes it's awkward just to reach out and do that first step, but it's all worth it because later on you'll be able to really bring some great energy and opportunities to other Bottom Line alums, and you'll be able to impact so many students just because you did that initial reach out. So reach out.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
and to piggyback off that, like Lorenz said, just reach out, be proactive if you want to get involved. And then specifically, there's like 3 different like levels of councils that we have at Bottom Lines. Bottom Line Leadership, and if I get this wrong, Jeanette, just, feel free to correct me. The Leadership Council and the Regional Advisory Board. So there are these 3 different groups that have different initiatives that they're all working on that can provide you an opportunity to get involved if you are interested.
That's awesome. You did not get it wrong. See, you are well informed. So glad to have you on board. You are ready to recruit from us. Thank you for nailing that. Thank you both so much for the time, for being with us during this hour. It's so great to really have you all as ambassadors and representative for Bottom Line, but also for other first-gen students, so that they can see you and know that they can make it. So we thank you and really appreciate the partnership that we have with you. Thank you to everyone who attended. It looks like we are coming to a close. I'm glad that you all were able to participate in this event. I know if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to us. As David mentioned, we have many different ways for you to get involved. So we're looking forward to continue to stay connected with you, and look out for the next Gen hour that we're going to have, and looking forward to that in the New Year's. Happy holidays, everybody, and Happy New Year's.